That's very interesting.
They speak the language tree.
And
Or the few of them who have been used to get their, this is also from, yes, also from the north. And so they go and buy the fetish. They buy the fetish from us. They don't speak Ga.
What is the role of the fetish then in the Ga?
In the Ga,
what messages does he convey? Does he convey messages from the deity and gives them a goodwill message for the coming year?
I cannot say with authority what they have. But naturally, it's something that strikes me, that if you are really worshipping that, and of course, on the time of Komohomo, we do the sprinkling.
Yes, of Pupui.
And they will go to what they call the stool room, which is different from the fetish room.
I see.
The stool room is where the souls are supposed to be. So for Homowo, it's for those living and the dead. The same thing in Israel. The Passover, they remember those who have died. They leave their doors open and the windows so that they will come and participate in it overnight. But I haven't seen any priest or priestess possessed who will speak the Ga language. So there must be something. There's a difference between them and the Wulomo. And the Wulomo, you come from birth.
You are born as a Wulomo. So very similar to the Israel tribes where you are born as a priest.
This is what it is. From childhood, we know what happened to the
Levites.
That's right, anyway.
They are the priests.
That's the priests. And they are different. And moreover, I really notice also that the Wulomo, they wear that hat. The same thing in Israel and all those Middle East areas, they wear that kind of thing. Our chiefs wear what they call them gallants or whatever it is. So there must be a difference between them. And over what period, chiefs are not really the ones involved in it at all.
I've not seen that too.
It is again the command, the Nile Rome. When people say Nile, is it the Nile?
Or when they are the battle cry, when they are praying.
Nile. Our big people were related, they say we are related to the waterways.
Yes.
So in the Wulomo are the lagoons, the rivers, and so on, the natural mysteries of our tradition. That's where they come. That's totally different from what they go and buy, and then when they get possessed, then they start this. It's different. Where the relationship comes in, what form them, I can't tell. But the Wulomo is not a fetish priest.
Welcome back to the show. And you heard that. That is Professor Hector Addo's interview. Permit me to go over to the touchscreen now and let's get it done very quickly. Nana Asante Hene Otumfo Otikokoso, as they call him, in the final funeral rites celebration of the Queen Mother of Asante Mai. Nana Asante Hene there in your photograph. This is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, former president of Ghana, shaking hands with the Asante Hene, his very good old friend. This is the high-profile table, and I like to begin from the end. Let's identify some of the personalities here. I see President John Dramani Mahama, Acting Chief of Staff Bafo Boni, President John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic, Acting Chief Justice, Justice Bafo Boni, and then Minister for Works and Housing, Eric Ejay, is seated in the Acting Chief Justice, Paul Bafo Boni, President John Dramani Mahama. Next to him, Chief of Staff Julius Debra, I believe former Chairman of the Council of State, and Dr. Frank Amwako Hine, who is Ashanti Regional Minister, and then the MPP stalwarts, John Ajekum Kufuor, former President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, former President, Alhaji Mahamadou Bawumia, former Vice President, Samira Bawumia, former Second Lady, to complete the high table, the high-profile stage set for the important dignitaries. Here again, you see Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in exchange handshake with one of the, looks like one of the important people there. This is the image of the departed Asante Hima. May she rest in eternal peace. John Dramani Mahama, former president, in a handshake with John Dramani Mahama, president of Ghana, in a handshake with Nana Akufo-Addo, former president of Ghana, and Chief of Staff Fremo Opare, also in the photograph. Here is Hassan Ayariga, a presidential candidate, a 3-term also presidential candidate, in a handshake with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. This is Nana Addo shaking hands with more dignitaries at the high table in Menchia this afternoon. Nana Asante Hene, surrounded by all the traditional people sitting in state to receive important guests and dignitaries. Ibrahim Mahama, brother of President John Dramani Mahama, climbs up the stage to shake hands with the dignitaries. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, next to him, Vice President of the Republic. And so here you go. That's the high table there again. Some more photographs. Yes, that's Asante Hima in there. Where is this? Maire division of Kumasi. I believe this is Maire Hine's place. Maire Hine is one of the important chiefs in Asante Man Council. The high table again, extended now. You can see Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings, former First Lady, wife of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, talking to Chief of Staff Fremont Pare, Samira Baumia, Dr. Muhammadu Baumia, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and John Ajekum Kufuor, former President of Ghana. The same high table now from the beginning. Eric Ajay is Minister for Works and Housing. I think I identify Madame Betty Moldidrisu, one of the Ashanti stalwarts from the National Democratic Congress. And there again, you see the acting Chief Justice and Sam Jonah KBE, one of the great friends of the Asante Hene, also in the photograph. This is one of the warriors on display at the event, the high table again. And this is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Muhammadu Baumia exchanging a joke and some pleasantries as they sat next to each other. This, I believe, it looks like Fawaz, but I'm not sure. Dr. Muhammadu Baumia in a handshake with one of the important personalities over there. This is President Mahama in a handshake with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, still, I believe, on the high table. There you go. Nana Addo, again, shaking hands with President John Dramani Mahama, I think before he took his seat, looking on his Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, and Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwako Hene. Nana Addo's aide, yes, Fawaz, shaking hands with President John Dramani Mahama. Now, these are people who are cheering Nana Addo's car. Akufo-Addo's car was being cheered. They called him all sorts of names this afternoon, free SHS. They called him all kinds of things, and I'm sure he was very pleased with it. Alexander Fenyo-Markin writes in the book of condolence on behalf, I believe, of the mighty minority in Parliament. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo pictured in his car. It took a while for the car to make his way. He enjoyed a lot of cheers from the Menchia crowd. All of these people cheering Nana Addo, calling him free SHS Hene, and all of that. This is the mammoth crowd that graced the occasion all over the streets in Ashanti, from the KNUST Road to all the way to Abrepo Junction, to Kwadaso, to Amekom. It was massive, 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 massive. Asante Hene or Teko Koswo. Really, really good. Really good event. The people, I don't know where they came from, but the crowd was really massive. All the crowd similarly attired. Some are wearing what I'm wearing, like a smock. Others wearing their black cloth, the drums, the umbrellas of the chiefs. It was just an outpouring of fantastic and phenomenal Ashanti culture in Kumasi today. Asante Hene must be very, very proud of his people when he goes out to look at these photographs after he has taken a rest after this mammoth funeral. He must be very proud of his people. It was such a deliberate show of authority, deliberate show of love, deliberate show of support for Asante Hene and everything that concerns Asante Man. This was very, very massive. To find out that this happened in the 19th century and in the 18th century, and it's happening again in 2025 with all of these young people, technology-driven young people, responding to a cultural call in this manner was very, very massive. Asante Hene certainly will be very proud of his people. There you see, there you go. They were all dressed in traditional attire representing from all walks of life. Ashantis descended on Kumasi to make this an event and an occasion to remember. This was very, 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 very massive. Everyone was there. I remember when the IGP and his group came in, people were making quite a bit of noise. The IGP walked in majestically earlier in the day with his police people. And I like the way Akufo-Addo folds his cloth. He seems to be very adept at it. It was very interesting. Let's see the video of President Akufo-Addo going over to shake Asante Hine when he sat in state this afternoon. Going over to shake hands with Asante Hine. Yeah, there you go, there you go, there you go. Yes. He's talking to the Asante Hine. And Asante Hine spoke to some of the people. You will see the scene that I want you to see. The bodyguard, who is himself a chief. And he also took the occasion to shake the Asante Hine's hand. There he goes. He shook the Asante Hine. And then he had to run very fast to continue his duties as a bodyguard of the former president of Ghana. Yes. So all that is from Mesha, and tonight Mesha and Kumasi is quiet under curfew. No one is supposed to get out because a traditional event is taking place tonight where the burial is going to occur at the place where they bury the Queen Mothers, and they are going to be walking through the principal streets of Asante with a lot of drumming and a lot of traditional talk and a lot of cultural display. This was many people's favorite video. This young man, we understand that he's 9 years old. He's already a fetish priest, and he goes to bless the Asante Hine, and the Asante Hine returns the gesture. The part which was interesting is here. He taps the Asante Hine's shoulder with some powdery stuff. Asante Hine acknowledges it, and there he goes. He's done with his duty. Wow, this is interesting. This is phenomenal. 9-year-old boy. Many people say that he's an incarnate of the great Okomfo Anokye, the gentleman from Ewukugwa in Ekrapim who gave Asante its constitution, if you like, 300 years ago. Okomfo Anokye is said to have commanded the golden stool from on high and asked Osei Tutu the first to sit on it and to develop the Asante Man Council, which has lasted for 300 years. And the golden stool is still available. And Otumfo Asante Hine Osei Tutu II is the 17th occupant of the Asante Hine's golden stool. That's some tradition. That's a phenomenal tradition to behold right here in Africa, right here in Ghana. What excited me about the social media videos, and I asked a few people who has seen this video whether we should show it or not. There's a video of a guy who is one of our brothers from Nigeria and who is enamored by what he saw in Kumasi, and he put a video together. Quite interesting. Have a look at it. This is what he said.
Oh, Bob, I prefer to go funeral for Kumasi than to go wedding. Jesus! Kumasi funeral. The Otumfo Nana Piao. Me bo mudina matoni. Me bo mudina masomi. That man, mother, sister, die. Jesus! Funeral be like carnival. Everybody oh Bob. No. Kumasi do tradition. Kumasi do. I see one that small boy get it like this. Food now, water. Food full everywhere. Now only Kumasi you go funeral, they'll give you cooler of food, you carry guas, drinks, gifts. Hi, if I marry for Kumasi now, my father-in-law died now. No be small money I go make. Busia penny 10,000. Musia many 100,000. Besi many 40 billion. I my Kumasi woman now. Then I'll make my Kumasi woman when the father and mother are alive. So that if they die, if the father go fair die, then I'll come make money, get plenty food. Then the mama will call die. I'll come make money. Then the mama sister will call die. I'll call Taikin.
Isn't it beautiful? Clear establishment of great culture in Asante Man. Otumfo Osei Tutu laid it all out for the world to see. It was glorious, and he got 1,000% support from his people. Something to behold, something to remember. May the Asante Hima rest in eternal peace. Back to politics and, politics and business. Kennedy Ohine Japan, one of the contestants of the New Patriotic Party's flag bearership, is setting out to establish a business. He is setting out to establish a huge factory in the central region, and his supporters say that he is doing it before he gets there. And here he is looking at the land with some of his people. I can see lawyer Ochribefi, who is in the United States of America. He was one of Kennedy's lawyers in the trial with Anas. He's here. The investors are here. They're putting the land together, and they say they're going to solve a lot of Ghana's problems. As a private sector man, he's doing it. This is he and his team standing on the land, and they've acquired huge tracts of land for agricultural and ethanol purposes. And it looks quite interesting. Here are the chiefs who gave away the 200 hectares of land for the purpose of this project. And the investors and the project's people were all there to look at it. He took time off his campaign to do this and to show that, after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. Those words continue to ring in our mind. And so that is business and politics. Now, Galamsey has been an issue, and I'm running through these stories because I have big stories coming up. Galamsey has been an issue for a while now. And last Tuesday, Miracle Sabwaji was here with us, and he spoke about it. It's a Galamsey issue that we are on now. So the Volta River, apparently, the seriousness of the matter is that the Volta River has been affected by the Galamsey that is occurring very far away from the Volta region. Well, there's some Galamsey in the eastern region, but it looks like it's now seeping into the Volta River. It's beginning to get very, very serious. The concern is being that President Mahama says that the state of emergency in Galamsey areas is not his priority right now. He wants to use other means to solve the Galamsey problem. But the problem really has escalated. If it has reached the Volta River, then we're in serious trouble. Have a look at this.
For years, the destructive scourge of illegal mining known locally as Galamsey was a problem for other regions. But as we stand here on the banks of the Volta Lake here in the Kintampo North Municipality, it is clear that that era of peace is over. This area, once pristine, is now becoming a new frontier for illegal miners.
It has come to the realization of my municipality that there is a team of Galamseyers who are here. And true, I came here with the military and the police, and true to its word, we have come to realize that they are actually polluting the Black Volta, which is within the Kintampo North municipality here.
The use of mercury and other chemicals to extract gold sediments lead to bioaccumulation in fish, poisoning the food chain and rendering the water unsafe for consumption and agriculture. Municipal Chief Executive for Kintampo North, Isaac Donko, shares the negative effects of Galamsey activities on the livelihoods of the people.
But we have put surveillance on the Black Volta, which is a source of drinking water for my people some of the people in the Kintampo North municipality. We are making sure that that thing should not continue, so that to get people off their livelihood. Some fish there, and during Galamsey, when you are doing Galamsey, you cannot fish. Some also use the water for a whole lot. It is that same water that transcends from this Kintampo North and gets to the Akosombo Dam. Unfortunately, it is the same water we are polluting.
The Assembly has, however, stepped in, arresting some illegal miners to save the situation. The Assembly's swift action comes amid lamentations of the devastating impact these activities are already having.
Thankfully, and God being so good, we got the hints very early, and we have to come out with the needed security intervention, and we have to storm the Black Volta to make sure that this Galamsey menace is nipped in the bud. And as I speak with you, when we are talking of Galamsey in the Kintampo North municipality, it is a thing of the past. The action that we went and took there, the security measures that we went and took there is no Galamsey going on.
Regional Minister Francis also touring the affected areas told Joy News that the government's commitment to fight
Galamsey seems now to be in the Volta River. The escalators are also doing their own rounds. Somebody put up a post and said, Kolebu Teaching Hospital reports a sharp rise in non-communicable diseases, recording over 5,225 diabetes cases, 2,300 kidney cases, and 2,800 heart cases in just 6 months. Kolebu records over 522 diabetes. And someone put a post and said that Felix Kwachio Fosu is looking for evidence, and here is the evidence. I don't know where. Ransford Jampo also has something to say. Miracles Abuaji went quite hard on Ransford Jampo, and I knew that Ransford Jampo was going to respond, and he did. But this is more serious than just rhetoric. It's more serious than rhetoric. The Galamsey menace is getting very, very serious. It's making some people rich, but it's destroying majority of people's lives. It's making some people rich, but it's polluting all the water bodies for the 30 million Ghanaian people. It's making some people rich, but now it gets to the Volta Lake. The government must act, and act, I'm sure they will. The state of emergency is almost necessary. The Catholic Bishops' Conference said that it is a necessary measure that must be taken by the President of Ghana. Irrespective of the economic cost to it, the President of Ghana must take that measure necessary so that the water can be cleaned, because the water is getting to the Volta Lake, and soon the Akosombo Dam will be affected. We don't know whether the turbines can turn through dirty water that has been polluted. We are not sure how that's going to work. If that affects Akosombo Dam and affects our electricity, we are getting into very deep trouble. The Galamsey menace must be dealt with now. It's not tomorrow, it's not yesterday. It has to be dealt with now. We have a responsible government, and I believe they are responsible, and they are going to deal with it. It has to be done very, very quickly. We will continue to remind the people in authority on this program every now and then, because we don't want Ghanaians to have bad water. We don't want children to be born with deformities. It is very, very serious. Some people say that it's a problem of 8 years. How do you use 8 months to solve it? It's a problem of more than 8 years. But we need a decisive action from those who told us that they will be able to resolve the problem. We trusted them. We still trust them. They should solve the problem. It's a big deal, and it's going to affect our lives in a negative way. So please, over to you, Joe Latte. Galamsey must be solved. All right. Oh, there's a story here that fetish priest allegedly guiding illegal miners at River Cobra flees upon citing anti-Galamsey task force. Oh, that's interesting. So there are fetish priests who are guiding Galamsey miners, but this is the den of the fetish priest. And apparently when he saw the Galamsey anti-tax force, he flew. It means government can do something about it. If the tax force is working, even the fetish priest who has spiritual powers is running away. So the tax force must work. The state of emergency must work. The military must work. Brute force must be applied to save the lives of the rest of the unborn Ghanaians and the 30 million people who are depending on the water. All of us who depend on the water, we must be saved. We are more, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more than the 25 people who make millions of dollars from Galamsey. We are more than them. Galamsey must be solved. Let's get to our next story where we are dealing with Johnson Asiedu Nketia. Now, my great friend Johnson Asiedu Nketia has come up for controversy when he set out to do a thank you tour. What is he thanking people for? But this evening I was listening to radio and I got a sense of what he's doing. He has a case, and I'm going to put the case before you viewers. Now, the case that is being made for Johnson Asiedu Nketia's thank you tour stems from the NDC strategy of 2024. The story is that whereas the president, John Dramani Mahama, and the vice president, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, concentrated on winning votes for the presidential election, there was another team led by the party chairman, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, that was concentrating on winning many parliamentary seats. The context of this narrative is driving towards the conclusion that Johnson Asiedu Nketia was responsible for the NDC super two-thirds majority that they have in parliament today, making him a major stakeholder in the future leadership of the party. Those who criticize Asiedu Nketia say that he is doing this because he wants to take a lead and win a start in the presidential succession race, which he can see that is now getting very tough. It's getting very tough because pollster Musa Dankwa has pulled up a post that does not have Asiedu Nketia leading. It has Idrisu Haruna, who has actually not said anything publicly about becoming the NDC's leader. It has Idrisu Haruna leading. It has Asiedu Nketia in a close second. It has Kaysel Ato Forsen, finance minister, in a close third. And it has Julius Debra in fourth position. That's what Musa Dankwa's survey brought up. It didn't have Eric Opoku in one of the leading areas because even though we know that our Greek minister Eric Opoku is also eyeing the position. But is it not too early for people eyeing the position in the NDC to do this? It's very early and it's very dangerous. It's dangerous because, viewers, I do not believe that the framers of the 1992 Constitution wanted us to go in this cycle. What cycle am I talking about? There's a cycle in the constitutional development where the president of the state, of the nation, would usually not be running because he has run his full term. He will usually not be running. So when the president is sworn in for his second term, you have the political party and the people who want to come after him juggle around for these things. We saw that in 1996, and J.J. Rawlings had to put a stop to it. In 1997, when Mr. Rawlings took the oath, it was obvious that Mr. Rawlings was not coming back to the position. The juggling started. Guzi Tano and co started preparing themselves to become the presidential candidates of the NDC. The people around Professor Mills convinced Fly Lieutenant Rawlings that in 1998, he stated it clearly that the inheritance belongs to the Vice President, Professor J.E.A. Mills. And that settled the matter because it was becoming unbecoming. People were getting concerned about the small pockets of campaigning groups that were being established in the ruling party. But that happens every other election cycle because usually you would have the president going a second term. If John Mahama was running a second term, there will be no conversations like this. There will be nothing like that. Everyone will know that the president is running a second term. But here's a president who is in a first term like a second term. So whilst Ghana has changed over a president in 2024, we should have been changing over again in 2032. Because we would have had a president who is running 2 terms. He may or may not win, but at least he's running 2 terms. So there's focus on the government, there's focus on the economy, there's focus on work. If he loses, he loses. But he's running. So internally, you don't have people with this divisive kind of attitude. Now, we are saddled with a situation where we have elected a president who can do 1 term. So having changed in 2024, Ghana is going to change again in 2028. That means the winner of the 2024 election is not on the ballot for 2028. The winner of the 2020 election was not on the ballot for 2024. And it was hoped that this would be a double cycle, but now we have done it back to back. Certainly, Ghana is the loser. NDC may not be the loser because NDC can win the 2028 elections. But Ghana is the loser because there's very little focus on driving the agenda. And we have had very little focus on driving the agenda between 2020 and 2024. We went into an election. We come to 2025. We are still having very little focus on driving the agenda because those in power are seeking to become presidential candidates. And this time, they are doing it pretty early. Less than 1 year of the new government, and Johnson Asiedu Nketia is on the road. Julius Debra is on the road. Kesela Tufosin is lacing his boots to hit the road. This is serious for the country. Especially when you have the finance minister involved in the ambition. That's very serious. You have key important figures. Asiedu Nketia is the chairman of GAPOHA, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. That's something he should concentrate on. He's also the chairman of the ruling party. He sets out to go an agenda of thank you tour. And Ras Mubarak says that what is he thanking people for because he was not the candidate? These are some of the photographs from Asiedu Nketia's thank you tour. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. That's Johnson Asiedu Nketia, usually dressed in smock, talking to people in Eastern region and thanking them for voting for the NPP parliamentary candidates. That's what he's saying. He's not thanking them for voting for John Dramani Mahama. He's thanking them for voting for the NDC parliamentary candidates all across the nation. That's an enthusiastic supporter of Johnson Asiedu Nketia and the NDC. And all of them in there checking it out. There he is. Asiedu Nketia enjoying embrace and hugs and all of that. You know, you have to love Asiedu Nketia in terms of his politics. There they are. The Green Army. There they are. So this is the danger of what is happening. This really is a very, very dangerous matter. And it's a danger of what is happening. It is so dangerous that people have even put up Asiedu Nketia's video, which is an old video, which he did when he was running for chairman. They've put it up and presented it as something that he started doing just now. But that's how the NDC is divided. Ras Mubarak says you can't do that. Other people say, what's Asiedu Nketia doing? Why is he panicking? Other people say, but Julius Debra is doing it. Finance minister will start rolling out his campaign strategy. Finance minister is the one paying everybody. So it's very likely to have people falling in line according to what he wants them to do in furtherance of his ambition. That's very serious for the country. Are we going to have a government that is running the country until the election year, when we get into election? Or are we starting the election today? The New Patriotic Party, the opposition, they are electing their candidates in January. As soon as that candidate is elected, he's going to go full throttle on politics. And the NDC would have to respond to that. Are they going to respond as Asiedu Nketiah's team, Julius Debre's team, Case Lato Forson's team? Somebody must bring something to order. Somebody must bring something to order. Otherwise, we are going to struggle as a country. NDCs will not struggle, but Ghana will struggle because you have done it in 2024. You're doing it again in 2028 where the government is not concentrating because people are pursuing their own ambition. Self-preservation is the first for every human being. So if I'm a minister and I have to have meetings, but the constituency chairman in Jomoro is calling me, and that's where my vote is, I'd rather go there than have the meeting. And that can jeopardize the development, all this big push and all the fantastic things that President Mahama is announcing. He needs all of these people to come together to work. Are they going to be there to work, or are they seeking for delegates' votes? This is very dangerous. Very, very, very dangerous. And we have to check it and look at it. Now, listen to Dr. Tony Edu, who says he doesn't even want to be around to look at the succession of President Mahama. We really don't know why Tony Edu said that. Is he saying that it's so ugly he doesn't want to be interested? Is he disappointed with the caliber of people who are running? Is he disappointed with the process? But an NDC stalwart, as powerful as Joseph Anthony Edu, former Minister for Defense, says that I'm not interested. I was so sad when I saw the video. Have a look at it.
Whoever is planning to take over from Mahama, a great deal depends upon the outcome of the Mahama administration. If it does well, it inures to the party. And therefore, it creates a wind on which the potential or the prospective person can ride. But I don't know. I don't want to be here. Maybe by the time it comes to that point, I will be gone.
You don't want to see what will happen to the party next?
No.
You don't want to be around to see?
I don't want to. Senna, I'm old though. I try. But I'm old. God has been good to me. But I wouldn't mind if he takes me today.
Oh, but because essentially, I think, would you not at least want to see where the future of the party, you know John Mahama?
All I want to see is live long enough to see the Black Stars qualify for the World Cup and see them play well during the World Cup.
Don't you feel sad listening to Tony Edu? He says he doesn't want to be around. But in the same video, which we didn't show you, he says he wants to be around to see the Black Stars qualify for the World Cup and do well. But he doesn't want to be around to see the succession to John Mahama in the NDC. Dr. Tony Edu, what is worrying him? What is he worried about? We must go back to him and do an interview. I really feel sad. He's a good friend of mine. I need to go and visit with him and talk to him about politics, which we used to do all the time. We fight. You know, I fight with my left-wing friends all the time. Tony Edu is one of the big left-wing brains and left-wing thinkers. He was in Kivas teaching sociology, and he was doing his left-wing things there those days. And when he was a minister, I was frequently in his house at Ridge and in his office at Burma Camp. And we talk all night, all day about politics. His biggest moment in politics came in 2008 when I showed up at the office of Flight Lieutenant Rawlins, and Tony Edu is a close associate of Rawlins. I showed up at Rawlins' office, and he saw me and said, "Paul, you see your guy lost the election? You see, he lost it by a whisker. I told you that Akufo-Addo was never going to win this election." Tony Edu was very, very happy when Professor Mills won. He was delighted. He was over the moon with excitement and joy when I saw him in JJ's office 2-3 days after the results had been declared. He was my guest on Good Evening Ghana on the, I believe that was the 9th of January 2009. 2 days after the swearing in, he was guest with Atachia. I never forget that program. It was a very, very big program. It ran for about 2.5 hours because Atachia was challenging the validity of the Mills election, etc., etc. And Tony Edu, who is not a lawyer but was always making very sound legal arguments, was on the show with him. I have to look for that tape and play for you when we open our YouTube channel of some of the old programs of Good Evening Ghana. You can see it. It was a very, very good program. And Tony Edu was truly excited by the Mills victory. And he went to Amsterdam as ambassador when Professor John Mahama was president. He came back in 2017, and I'm sure he's been hanging around still. He lives in a place where I know. I will not say where he lives, and I have to go and visit him. But that's Tony Edu. That's Tony Edu. Feeling really, really sad. Here's a montage that we are doing for Johnson Asiedu Nketia, because here on Good Evening Ghana, we support Johnson Asiedu Nketia for the NDC inheritance. We support him. This is a montage for him. We did it for Johnson Asiedu Nketia.
Arise for Ghana, oppression of the land, forward and seek your future, development our God, from vision to victory, the NDC shall lead, Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to victory, the NDC shall lead, Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity.
Message has come to me. He says that it's not true that Asiedu Nketia was in charge of winning parliamentary seats. Don't credit that to him. Yes, he had a 3-leg campaign team: the candidate, the VP, the chairman, and the secretary. And presidented, thank you, Tor, someone says. This is an important member of the NDC. Wow. Okay. That's getting very, very interesting, isn't it? Alrighty. Let's get on to the continue our touch screen. My producer urges me that we have our time is running fast, so we need to go. I'd like to say something about this photograph, and this is a different video, viewers. I'd like to say something about this photograph. Okay. Now, the reason why, I'm going to show you the reason why Europe, it's democracy. America is democracy. It's slightly different from Ghana. There are a few African countries, South Africa, that's good. These are two gentlemen. Ablakwa was struggling on the show last night. I'll show you the video. But these are two gentlemen seated. On the right is the journalist asking the questions. On the left is the powerful politician, Samuel Kujita Ablakwa, the foreign minister. But here's the catch. These two gentlemen are mates from Presec. They were sat in the same class. They are mates. So when Bernard Avila is interviewing Kujita Ablakwa, he has no qualms, he has no fears, he has no embarrassments, he has no hesitations. And in that spirit, Ghana will get its due out of the minister. In that spirit, the minister is careful to answer the questions in a certain way because they belong to the same social class. They belong to the same academic background. They came from the same school. The difference, and that is why we are struggling, we have a problem in democracy if this one has to remunerate this one. Then we have a problem. It's okay for us to have them on the same level. That's an improvement. We didn't used to have that in the past. Now we are getting quite a bit of that. So it's improvement. The next level of improvement is that this one should not be able to remunerate this one. This one should earn as much as this one. That's where it settles it. And that's why you find in the advanced democracies, they protect journalism. They don't allow all of us to become journalists. They protect it. So you will see that it's okay to be a journalist and become a politician in England. That's fine. Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, he was editor of the Daily Mail. But all the time he edited the Daily Mail, he was a conservative. He's been a conservative forever. I don't like to use myself as an example. Like me, I've been right-wing forever. So you shouldn't be surprised if you find me in a right-wing government tomorrow. It's okay because I've been right-wing, defending right-wing policy for a long time. There are journalists who are left-wing. But whilst at journalism, that journalist should be equally matched with the politician. It is only then that the nation will survive. When equally matching a politician with academic qualification, equally matched with a politician with information, equally matched with a politician with social connections, social standing, social status, they should be equally matched. If they are equally matched, then the country will be saved. If they are equally matched, democracy will be tested. If they are equally matched, the politician will be questioned and will be interrogated in the interest of the nation and the growth of democracy. This is what we have been lacking for a long time. Now we are getting to the level. But we need to find a way in which journalists are so well paid that when the two of them leave PRESEC, the best one is going to media, because that's where they are getting well paid. We should be taking people from school and paying them the way GMPC pays them. We should be taking people from school and paying them the way Bank of Ghana pays them, because the media is more important than GMPC for the sustenance of democracy. The quality you have in the media is more important than Bank of Ghana for the sustenance of democracy. Many years ago, I'll tell this story very quickly and I end. Many years ago, we were looking for sponsors for Good Evening Ghana. So we went into a bank, a state bank, I'll mention the name. And the bank said to us that they don't like politics. They are not interested in politics. It's politics and politics. So I was with my boss and I told them that if you are not interested in politics and you don't let us streamline the politics and give the people a voice and let the people feel that the politicians are doing the right thing, you will become like Liberia. You will carry your mattresses and you'll be walking on the streets. You are a bank manager, but you carry your mattress and walk on the streets when the civil war breaks out. And then they said to me that, but if the civil war breaks out, you are inside. And I said, I will not be inside. They said, why? I said, oh, me, I will be spokesperson for the rebels. In those days, the Liberia civil war had just finished. And they all laughed. And I said, yes, I will grant the BBC interview for the rebels. And I'll say that I represent NPLA. And I'll say that they are fighting for democracy. And the president had violated article this and article that of the Constitution. And he had postponed elections indefinitely. The rebels will rely on me to say that for them. But you, bank manager, you will carry your mattress and you will be walking on the road. So invest in the media. When the media is solid, powerful, and sustained like America. This afternoon, I was watching a press conference of Donald Trump and Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister. Oh my goodness, I just loved it. You could tell that the media in the room and Donald Trump and Keir Starmer were equal. They are all Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard. They earn a lot of money. And so they were asking bold questions of Donald Trump. The Sky News lady said, Mr. Trump, you said the other day that you were disappointed about Vladimir Putin. Do you now regret doing the things that you do? I was watching. I said, when will Ghana get to this level? Until we get there, the democracy still has a long way to go. So when I saw this interview yesterday, I said, we are getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. These are equally mad. They were mates. I don't know who was chopping first and who was chopping second. But if you ask me, let me look at their heads and see. I don't know. But these are people who were in the same secondary school, sat in the same class. One becomes a journalist, one becomes a foreign minister, politician. And he's asking him questions. And he knew him when he was 17 years old. And they were in the same class. So Ablakwa is not going to, look down on Bernard. No way, you can't. You can't. Because we're in PRESEC together. And then they moved to Legon together. They were in the university together. They were in the scripture union together. It is important that the society invest in media so that we can attract the best of the best. As for some of us, we are old, 50 years old, we are old. After writing 2 or 3 more books, I'm gone. I may end up in parliament, or I'll end up around the cabinet table somewhere when my right-wing people are in power. But the media has to be sustained, and we're all going to spend a lot of time to do that. After a few, 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 years, I'm gone into another field, politics or something like that. But the media must be sustained. I'm going to write a few more books and then that's it. Because already my teenage children are putting pressure on me that I should stop the media. They are not giving me a new job to do, but they say I should stop the media. I'm not sure why. But that is something that I have been thinking about for many, many years since I engaged with British media. And I noticed that this is what is missing. The resourcefulness of the individual, the intellectual resourcefulness, and also the wherewithal resourcefulness of the journalist. The lead spokesperson for the people in a democracy must be super resourced. It's in America. If you go and check the salaries of the people who work on CNN and the Cooper, they are all earning million something a year, $6 million a year, $10 million a year. Now, if a journalist on CNN earns $10 million a year, what is Donald Trump going to take of him? What does he talk to? What does he need politician for? But if the politician has to finish the interview and say that, oh, boys, Bernard, how many are your people? This one is for you. And then, how many are your... No. When I did our attachments at the BBC, They don't even sit in the politician's car to go to the assignment. Sky News has a helicopter of their own. Imagine Metro TV have a helicopter. President Mahama is going to Mesha Palace. We take off with him. He should be in his plane. We are in our plane. We go. So when we film it, he has no rights to come and ask us, why did you film this? What did you film this? UK was bidding for the World Cup. BBC put up a panorama documentary that was going to be critical of FIFA. The British authorities were saying that BBC is going to destroy the UK's chances of winning the bid. BBC said, to hell with all of you. We have done our story and we are going after it. And that was what was the beginning of unraveling the corruption in FIFA that eventually led to Sepp Blatter and co leaving. We need that kind of journalism in Africa. We need that kind of journalism in the developing world. It is only then that we can ask the questions of the politicians. And that way, our democracy will be saved. That's what I wanted to say about this photograph to start with. But now let's get to the issues. Play the video first. Let's start with the video. Let's start with Ablakwa's video. And then
3. Some people took the matter to court. And I think the Supreme Court held that whatever name you give it, when two countries come up with an arrangement, that places obligations on both of them. Whether you call it a treaty, a contract, it requires ratification. It was a majority decision. Only one person dissented. So I'm a bit surprised you're saying because an MOU, it means that it oughtn't have gone to Parliament. The judgment was very clear on the Guantanamo 3. That Article 75 was violated, which says international agreements must go through Parliament. And you are a 4th MP, so at least you could have gone to Parliament. And you have a massive majority. So what's the problem?
No, I agree with you. And that is why I said at the press conference I held a couple of days ago that when this is elevated beyond an MOU and it's a full agreement, we will go to Parliament under Article 75 and have it ratified. At this point, it is just a loose understanding.
The agreement is enforced. But how can you enforce? How can you enforce something you call a loose agreement? That is already enforced. You've got 14. You're bringing 40.
Look, I've inherited so many MOUs that didn't go to Parliament for ratification, and
but because of the precedent of the Gizmo 3, I felt like this was, and I think you know this. So is it an oversight? Are you going to apologize for it, or you don't think it is?
No, it's not an oversight because we sought the Attorney General's advice. It was discussed in Cabinet, and the Attorney General's advice and his counterpart, the Attorney General on the US side, also said that, look, this is an MOU. And MOUs do not require ratification. That is why
the Attorney General is wrong, because the judgment is clear. I can read it.
Oh, you know better law than the Attorney General?
At least the law is there for all of us to read. Unless the English reading of what the Supreme Court said is different.
You see MOUs in that judgment?
The language of Article 75 is very clear. The article forms part of the set of provisions governing the role of the executive arm of government in Ghana's international relations. I'm reading the judgment. Yeah. The scope of the article deals with treaties in general. The side notes and the body of the text makes reference to treaties, agreements, and conventions. It is also clear that the instruments referred to relate to Ghana's international relations with other countries or groups of countries, and the article requires that such instruments must be ratified by Parliament. The Constitution makes no mention of any formal distinctions that are dependent on the formality with which such an instrument is formatted or brought into being. Then it goes on to even list MOUs, etc. This is the judgment. This is a Sophia Kufu. I'm not the one saying it. So I don't know whether you're saying because the AG says, in fact, if the argument of the defendant in the state, the government, were to be taken seriously, that the transaction being by way of note verbal, executive agreement, memorandum of understanding, diplomatic note, or what have you, is merely an administrative one, then the question arises as to the exact status of the said persons now that they are in Ghana. Are they migrants? It's a long argument. It basically says, once two countries agree on something of that nature, Parliament must ratify. It's very clear.
We are working with the Attorney General's advice, and the Attorney General's advice is that when this is elevated...
Ablakwa is saying that the Attorney General says, so we don't believe that. But I just got a text from Presec, our people, or that there Chris Fifi Johnson, who campaigned for the NDC heavily during the election, sends me a text and says, Senior, good evening. Bernard Avler was Ablakwa Senior. Bernard is 1998. Ablakwa is 1999. Viewers, you get the point I'm making? You see the point I'm making? Bernard Avler actually was senior. Ablakwa was a year behind him. Now Ablakwa comes to the show and look at Ablakwa trying to intimidate Bernard and say that I do know more law than Attorney General. This is a blatant abuse of power. It's a blatant violation of the law. And I'm so disappointed that it has to be a foreign minister from PRESEC who does this faux pas. Diplomatic, political, legal faux pas. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa from PRESEC is so worrying for all of us that he was going to, in his light, we are going to see light. Videbimos lumen. Illuminituo videbimos lumen, in thy light we shall see light. Here is Ablakwa sitting on another audacious platform and he's throwing the faux pas. He says that, I'm sure they forgot or something. I don't understand it. NDC has such an amazing elephant majority in parliament, and they can send anything to parliament and whisper to their people, and they don't do it. In the blatant face of the case of Margaret Banfo and Henry Nana Boakye versus the Attorney General, it is in 2017. What's this? GHAC. I thought it's GLR, or it's Ghana Supreme Court law report, I believe. Now, these were the judges who put up the matter, and they call them the quorum. Ekufu CJ, that's Sophia. Atuguba dissented. Adinyira, Doche, Eniyeboa, Bafoboni, and Badegbe, all of them agreed. Where's Justice Atuguba? Justice Atuguba is here dissenting. This is Sophia. This is Adinyira. This is Doche. This is Eniyeboa. This is Bafoboni. And this is Justice Badegbe. May he rest in peace. With Atuguba dissenting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 decision of the court that the government of Ghana is not able to bring in people as Gitmo 3 and say that it was based on a memorandum of understanding. Samuel Ablakwa tells Bernard Abza that the Attorney General's view of the matter is that they can do it without Parliament. I do not believe that. I do not believe that Dominic Ayini took that view. Neither do I believe that Srem Sai took that view. I believe that it was an oversight from the foreign minister, and he's hiding behind his oversight. You see why sometimes they don't come on Good Evening Ghana. I keep telling you that nobody has stopped them from coming on Good Evening. Are you going to come on Good Evening Ghana and tell me this? Ablakwa will sit on this show and say that it's that I would massacre him. It is the Attorney General who did that. The law is clear. The Supreme Court decision is there. That's why he won't come. If I invite him, he won't come. And they'll hide behind politics and say, oh, he's doing an MPP program. But these are the issues. These are the issues. You see how Bernard caught him flat? And look at Ablakwa's response. Oh, do you know more law than the Attorney General? Oh, my goodness. You should be apologizing for that. You are telling the journalist who is pointing to you a Supreme Court decision, do you know more law than the Attorney General? Really? Well, I've heard Nana Boakye say that he's going back to the Supreme Court to do this. But I use this example to show how journalism can work in Ghana. If Bernard Abla did not conduct this interview, we will all not be talking about this. He didn't conduct the interview. He didn't pierce the veil. Now, these are the people who did the case. Ejebafo, our favorite Good Evening Ghana friend, Henry Nana Boakye and Madame Banfo, they went to court in 2016 to challenge the decision of the Mahama administration. Marietta Brew then was the Attorney General. Dominic Ayini, today the Attorney General, was a Deputy Attorney General. They went to Supreme Court and obtained a 6-1 decision against the government. It was a case that was lost to the Attorney General. And it beats anyone's imagination why the same group of people come back to power, do the same thing, repeat the same mistake. The same illegality has been repeated in all fours. It has fallen on all fours with this one. The exact same illegality has been repeated, except that some of the actors are different. The president is the same. The foreign minister was Hannah Tete. Now it's Okudzeto Ablakwa. The attorney general was Marietta Brew. Now it's Dominic Ayini, who was in fact the deputy to Marietta Brew. That's not good. That's not right. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Is it Article 75 that we need to look at? Maybe let's look at 75 and just leave it over there, and then we can go to text messages. Article 75. The president may execute or cause to be executed treaties, agreements, or conventions in the name of Ghana. A treaty, agreement, or convention executed by or under the authority of the president shall be subject to ratification by A, Act of Parliament, or B, a resolution of Parliament supported by the votes of more than 1/2 of all the members of Parliament. This is very simple and this is very straightforward. That the President of Ghana may execute or cause to be executed agreements or conventions in the name of Ghana. A treaty, agreement, or convention executed by or under the authority of the president shall be subject to the ratification by an act of parliament or by a resolution of more than one half of the members of parliament. This is quite straightforward. This was violated in 2016 by the Mahama administration. The Supreme Court was invited to pass a verdict in a 6-1 decision. The court held that the Mahama administration was wrong in ignoring parliament to conduct the Gitmo 3 welcome to Ghana. Now, it's not 3, it's over 40 people, West African neighbors, same situation with the United States. United States is deporting them, we are taking them. Well, the matter is kind of sub judice because Oliver Vermaho is about to file a legal action against the government to challenge the decision of the government to do so based on the Supreme Court authority of Bamful and Henry Nana Boachi versus the Attorney General. It's going to be very interesting. The Supreme Court will have work to do. We'll see whether the Supreme Court will depart from its original decision because they can do that and take a new decision, or whether the Supreme Court will go by their old decision. Let's take some text messages at this stage. And then Justice Gertrude Tokonu has, this is different from the Gitmo. Justice Gertrude Tokonu has filed something at the court. We just might have a look at it in some detail on Tuesday, because today we have 2 more major items coming. There's some insecurity problem that Al-Hassan Bello is going to tell us, and then we have the Charlie Kirk interview. But Anziba is here to tell us what people are saying through the text message. Anziba, good evening. What are people saying?
Good evening, Paul. Thank you very much. Coming from Ivan Topuku, he says, Mr. Paul, please, where can I get a copy of your book to buy? Haj Bob CD says, Assalamu alaikum, Apostle Paul. I tried to get in touch with you as mentioned, but things didn't go as planned. But I thank God that you came, participated, and you are back to the Good Evening Ghana studio to serve your nation and viewers. I wish you good luck, health, and prosperity. Regards to Echo Vincent Asafwa. Coming from Richard Murphy, Ado, he says, I like this Nanado's bodyguard, very loyal. May God bless him. Ahad Bob CD says again, the whole of Ghana was in Asante, man. Coming from Gasti Man, he says, today's final funeral rites of the Asante Hima was a true testament to the richness of Asante culture, dignified, powerful, and deeply rooted in wisdom. Otumfo said to continue to embody leadership that unites heritage with national pride. Long live our traditions. Coming from Junior Akbar, he says, I think our president has failed to fight the issue of Galamsey. Yao February says, Galamsey is escalating to areas where there was no Galamsey previously, but the Minister for Government Communications said evidence should be given to the government to prove that. Now that the Galamsey menace has escalated to the Black Volta, do we have to provide evidence to the government before they accept the fact that Galamsey menace is escalating? This is the time for the government to implement its own proposal in opposition to fight the menace. Coming from Augustine, he says, if they solve the Galamsey issue now, there will be no cocoa board. He continues to say, Asedio Inketia always has a way of destroying his competitors in every position he is interested in. Lastly, coming from Maxwell Brempon, he says, wow, Mr. Tony Edu, I feel something is wrong. Please, Paul, find out more about him for us. Okay, appears we have one more message coming from Augustine again. He says, Asiedu Inketia knows NPP is gaining attention day by day through their upcoming flag bearership election. That is the reason why he is doing what he calls the thank you tour. He wants to draw attention from the NPP. That will be it. Over to you, Paul.
Yes. Okay. Is Al-Hassan Bell already for us? Is he? Okay, he should mount the touchscreen and I join him and then we talk about. He's not in the studio yet. He's coming very soon. Anzaba, do you have some more text messages to read? Somebody sends me a text and says that, do you know that are you aware that the Guantanamo Bay guys are still under NIB care up to date? Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Al-Hassan Bello, you have some 5 minutes to give us all the information. And, okay. Wow. All right, let's get onto the touch screen and hear what Al-Hassan Bello has to say. Let's begin with the Tamale Polytechnic. What happened there?
Initially, there was a protest by the students over some management issues, and that turned into a violent confrontation with the policemen. And so
Processed by the students with management.
Yeah.
They were quarreling with management.
Yeah, over some issues of alleged mismanagement and then poor sanitation and other issues that's affecting their, life on campus. And then the police team were invited in, and that resulted in some confrontation. And then some of the images and the videos that we saw on social media were just nothing to write home about.
Wow.
But then these were two press statement issues one by the police and the other one by the,
Did they harm anybody? The police harm anybody? The video shows that they were beating them.
Yeah, there was a video that shows where the policeman was kicking some of students.
Yes.
And then you could see that from what we see, you could see that his colleague was trying to tell him to stop.
The police colleague?
Yeah. And then later, but if you look at the police press statement, it didn't talk about those images that we see. It was more like an attempt to just
brush it aside?
Yeah, brush it aside, because they spoke about the date where the issue appeared. Intelligence was indicated at 9 a.m. Student numbering 500 must stop in front of the administration block, and then whatever.
So it was an admin that called in the police to help?
Yeah.
I see.
And then also the statement of the Tamale Protector, in their statement, they acknowledge the students have the right to protest. They also indicate that there's a meeting between student and management to address some of the issues. So the question we could ask is that, so in that case, why were those meetings or those hearings not given to the student? And you have to wait for the whole situation to escalate.
That's what I was coming to. Were they not in talks? Did the talks break down? The students and management talks, did it break down?
So here are some of the demands of the student. One, they said there was a poor infrastructure and bad roads in some of their hostels. And then second, there was a collapse of satellite campuses. But what they are saying that aside the main campus in Tamale, there's other campus in Waliwale, Wulensi, and Yendi. But then the condition over there is nothing to write them about. And then there's another issue of certification. Those who have completed their undergraduate studies, some have not been issued their certificate.
They are gone home, or they are there.
They didn't indicate that they are still on campus, they've gone home, but based on the issue, one of the agreements was that people have completed their programs, but they still haven't gotten their certificate, and don't understand the reason for the delay. And then there was a increment of the school fees without consultation of
with
either GRASAG or the SRC. And they felt that at least they should have been.
But are these school fees not regulated by the Ministry of Education? Do all polytechnics not pay the same school fees?
That's an issue. I think there's a way you have to. But on the committee that determines the fees, there's always a representation from the student body. But what they are saying that the student body were eliminated from the committee when the decision was taken without their consulting. They felt that was an affront on their right to a certain extent. And then you could see from their placards some of the things they are campaigning: fix our smelly hostels, open defecation.
Oh, I see. This is terrible.
Yeah, and then this is just.
So they have a water shortage problem?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the infrastructure, the whole issue is just
terrible.
But then the main concern with the public is that the kind of confrontation they saw and the police response, which was, some of the things were just nothing to write them about. You could see the police being brutal, for lack of a better word, assaulting the students. And then if that is the kind of policing we want to do in the 21st century, it raises a lot of questions. Even though Ghana Police Service has been applauded across the country, one of the best. But then the image we saw still shows that there's much work to be done. And then the question now is, if police are invited in, at what point should management invite police to come in? And when they come in, what is the best method of...
Was there a security breakdown for which reason they invited the police? Normally, these schools will have their own security on the campus. They have campus security. And so when the campus security is overwhelmed by the issues, then they may call the national police.
So per their press release, so the number 2, management however regret the excesses and the demonstration where some students clashed with the police. So they didn't indicate what was the nature of the situation before the But normally, as a police force, when you go in, your idea should be de-escalating, but not escalating the whole situation. But then if you look at the scenes, so it's hard to tell from the images who started the initial attack. But then so far, so what we've seen on air, the police was a bit harsh.
I see. Wow. So where are we on the matter?
So I learned there have been some discussion with the students, and so they've been asked to go back to their classroom and their issues will be addressed. So, but the biggest question we still need to understand is, so now, if all this can be done, should they have waited for it to have resulted in this, And then,
but the demands of the students is not something that can be fixed quickly, except the hikes. But the infrastructural development is not a quick fix.
And that's the issue. So if there's dialogue and communication between the two sides, perhaps we wouldn't have gotten to this point. So it's about who, at certain point in time, was not giving who information. So I think perhaps the best way to go is that maybe a committee should be formed to investigate the whole thing. But then I think, remember the new policy, the no fee stress.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been able to address the issue of level 100 and some, what do you call it, admission, child people having when you get admission, you are not funded. So I think this raises the idea of we broadening the whole discussion, look at how do we also sustain or support the continuing student. Because if fees hike is a problem, the challenge, one of the things we're trying to address, which has to do with the cost of education, is still probably, we still need a debate and a second look at it. So we've addressed that of new entrants. So how do
the administration could easily hike the second year so that you actually still pay for the first year.
So we need to look at, I think it calls for a broader conversation, broader discussion with stakeholders to find the best way to deal with the issue.
So there's calm on the campus now?
So far on there's calm. I learned also the police have left some residual deployment as a way of forestalling further understood. Okay.
It's in their statement?
Yeah, the residual.
Okay.
Okay. Meanwhile, a temporary deployment is stationed on the ground, so point number 5.
Yeah.
The team managed to bring the situation under control and restored calm to the school. Meanwhile, a temporary deployment is stationed on ground to avert any. So there's a residual team on the ground now to thwart, what do you call it?
Wow, I see. Okay, we'll leave it here at Tamale Polytechnic because we don't have too much time. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we will be dealing with the international conversation right here and right now on Good Evening, and I'll be right back. Okay, we have a debate for the next 10 minutes or so, and Professor H. Sikanku has been gracious to join us. He is the rector at the school of, well, the new school of journalism. Prof, what do you call it?
The dean, not
the
rector.
dean, the dean of the school of journalism. What is it called?
University of Media, Arts and Communication. Unimac.
Unimac. Yes, that's the school. And Michael Angelo is with him. Michael is back as a student, and he has very radical views from the right. And I have Irama, correct? And Irama and Andrew have also joined us, and they also have views. Why are we here with the professor of journalism, who is also very connected and affiliated with American, contemporary American politics, Professor H. Sikanku? Charlie Kirk, you heard about him? The other day, I was home when my teenage children were having a feisty argument, and I enjoy it terribly when they do that. And I was listening to them. They were arguing, and one said he's racist, and the other said he's not racist. And what he's saying is true. Is that not what we black people do? And I said, oh, wow, these contemporary children, this is interesting. So I said, what are you people talking about? They said, that year of Charlie Kirk, he died. I said, yeah, I heard that he died. He said he died, and this, pointing to his sibling, he's happy about it. I said, but why is he happy? He said, because he said he's been speaking against blacks. But the things he says against blacks, they are true. One is 15, one is 16. I said, oh, wow, I like that. Anyway, now let's start with two videos that Michael, who has produced this part of the program, put together for us. Let's see them. Okay. The videos will be coming soon. It will come soon, and then we see them. Okay, so should I go on because they can't find the videos?
Here to try to change people's minds, or is there kind of a benefit to keeping people divided?
How am I dividing people if I ask you if you disagree, you come to the mic? How is that divisive?
Well, no, I'm just saying it's like you have these like clickbaity titles. It says like prove me wrong. What is a woman? You're dividing things very black and white. Like
what is a woman is not a clickbaity title.
I think it is.
What is a woman?
I'm not trying to answer that. Your critics are saying that you're trying to keep people divided. They're urging people not to come talk to you because you're going to spin it. What would you like to say to like your critics?
They're welcome to come to the microphone and say whatever they want to me, but they're intellectual cowards and they won't do that. You know how we heal our divides? By talking to people we disagree with.
I would agree with that.
We will get closer to a civil war if we act like that. We just yell at people we don't like. That's how you get closer to dividing the country. You heal the country when you allow disagreement and you allow a microphone with people that have differing views.
How do you feel about being called a fascist?
I don't care being lied about.
Why is it a lie?
Because I'm not a fascist. I believe in a free society. Let me ask you, who's the fascist? The guy that's smiling in the sun, or the 500 people barking trying to prevent me from speaking? Call me a white supremacist. What evidence do you have that I'm a racist?
I was just literally watching a video of you talking about whiteness as a whole, talking about whiteness as a concept, okay? And you were trying to explain how white privilege doesn't exist.
Correct, it doesn't.
You are a white man. How do you know?
What can a white person do that a black person can't do?
Black applicants to jobs are 50% less likely to get jobs if they have a black-sounding name.
That's not even close to being true. That's not even close to being true.
That is a literal...
in fact, it's the opposite.
I'm not going to argue your lived experience. I'm not going to... No.
See, now you have to listen to him under your rules because a black person is going to say you're wrong.
I am. He can say I'm wrong. I know.
Come on up to the mic.
I know. I read your.
My name's Keemon Dixon. I have a really black name. Please tell me how 50% of my internships have been denied when I've worked for Senator Mike Lee, Mayor Trent Stack, Speaker Mike Schultz.
Hold on.
I worked for a Congressman, Burgess Owens. I've actually worked on his campaign. I've worked on the campaigns of John Huntsman Jr. Please tell me how my black experience and my black name has not given me. Go ahead.
So that's Charlie Kirk, and eventually he got shot. He's a big supporter of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. He presents himself as a Christian. That's another controversial part. He believes in the Lord Jesus Christ, the Trinity, the resurrection, and all of that. And he believes that reading your Bible is important. He gave advice to young people, younger people, to read their Bible and to also share their Bible with their friends. That's evangelism. He's a great Christian evangelist, but then he is thought to be racist. Andrew, why is Charlie Kirk a racist?
Okay, so the conversation of him being racist is in the communication. Miguel, you argue that there's context to the things that he says. But I think that when you are not aware of the privileged position that you are in, and you begin to deny the oppression that certain people face, and then say that the structures that help those people overcome those oppressions are bad structures, that is subtle racism, if you'd want to put it that way. So, for example...
You are talking about hard drugs helping people to overcome certain things, and that's okay?
No, so I'm talking about his opposition to things like DEI.
What's DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's...
okay, the policy program.
The policy program that ensures that people are not discriminated against because of race, gender.
That's a good
whatnot.
policy.
It's a good policy, but he disagrees. He thinks it's the reason why he'll be afraid a black pilot is flying his plane, because he's not sure that he's properly qualified for those things.
But in DI, are you supposed to be unqualified to get a job?
No, and that is the fallacy of the opposition to DEI, because it's an assumption that it's unqualified people that are pushed just because of their race. So it's a whole opposition to affirmative action, that people receive things not because of merit, but because they've been, they have a certain political color or a certain racial or gender tag, which is not true. But affirmative action
He may
exists.
have a point, because when you look at when Ghana began the gender encouragement for university education, girls will go to university with an aggregate calculated -2 over boys.
Yeah.
So when the girl gets an aggregate 8, it will be read as a 6.
Yeah.
And so you sort of, it's not lowering the standards, but yeah, something that, maybe that's the context that Michael is talking about.
Yeah, that's the context, but it exists also in the context. It exists in the context of these people have been historically disenfranchised to the point where they haven't had access enough. So historically, for example, girls haven't had access to education. You wouldn't expect them to be able to compete with boys who have had who have had access ahead of them. Right? So if you want to even out the playing field in terms of gender, sometimes you need affirmative action to get people in. There is a conversation as to at what point we stop affirmative action, but to deny the structures that help people in oppression is in itself racism.
You're also right, because the recent BEC, the free SHS that Akufo-Addo did, they bring people who are not supposed to be in PRESEC to come to PRESEC, organize classes for them, and sometimes by the time they get to SS3, they are topping the class, whereas they couldn't have topped the class in SS1. So that's a good point. Hold it there. Give the microphone to Irama. Irama, why do you think Charlie Kirk is racist?
I think that he sees everything as black and white when there should be some sort of middle ground, like a gray area. Because we just saw in the video that I'm not a white supremacist because, black people are getting more advantages. The black guy said that, he worked in Congress. Was it Congress? Mm-hmm. And I think that it's very black and white. Andrew talked about affirmative action. It's very important that we understand that just because you have certain privileges, you are still a minority. And I think that's a very important conversation that we should have, because sometimes you could see, how should I put this? There's a lot of history behind these things, because we've seen like black people were segregated, we've seen slavery. These and many more reasons are the reasons why they don't have as much privilege as you do. So even as a black person, that even if you don't come from a disenfranchised home, that you don't come from a single parent household, you are still part of a minority, because even if you try, there's this saying that you have to be twice as good to reach half of what they are. And I feel like that's something that's very missing in his rhetoric and his beliefs as a whole.
I'll come back to you, but in football, for instance, we found out that when you're a football player from Africa and you're going into Europe and you play in the number 10, do you know football? Do you like football? Okay, if you play in the number 10 position, you play in Ghana, you play in number 10 position, like Thomas Partey, like Michael Essien. They play in the number 10 position. Yeah. When you go to Europe, the number 10 position will be given to a white man. You play number 6, which is kind of more difficult, and which is not where the focus, which is not where the superstardom is. The superstardom is in number 10 and number 9. But you're number 10 in Ghana, you go to Barcelona, you will not be a number 10. You have to come back. If you're very, very good, you can be in the team, you have to come back. That's why we saw the likes of Michael Essien playing back, Thomas Partey coming back, Stephen Appiah coming back. These are, when they play for the Black Stars, they play ahead. You know, now we are seeing some improvements. You know, we have Antoine Semenyo, but he doesn't play for a top club. I mean, he plays for a good club, but it's not top like those. If Antoine Semenyo is in Barcelona, he probably will not be where he is. So that's a point to look at. Let me come to you, Mikael, before I go to the lecturer. Why are you in support of Charlie Kirk?
Right. So the arguments put forward when they say Charlie Kirk is racist is that his communication seems to not recognize the struggles that black people have been through. His communication seems to be in opposition. It's in a position of DEI. So the reason why I and a number of people would look at it and say he's not racist is that his arguments against DEI is that in theory, the idea is it's meant to bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots. In this case, it is said that the haves are the white people and the have-nots are the people of color. His argument is that in theory, that is what is being done. But in practice, standards are being lowered and spots are being reserved for people of color over white people. And some people say it is justified because of historic racism and historic disenfranchisement. He says that why should we disenfranchise people today who are white, who maybe had ancestors who benefited from things? Why should those people today be disenfranchised? Why should they have spots in universities specifically saved for black people, Asian people, and so on, when those white people are just as qualified? So his argument is, in theory, DEI sounds like it's working, but in practice, it just results in white people being excluded, and it's not fair. So some people can say that, oh, because of history, it's justified to do that. Another reason I would say he is not racist is people think that his communication is heavy-handed. I think that a lot of times his statements are taken out of context by political pundits on the left and so on, and some of these statements taken out of context are then circulated across news articles and so on. Like, for example, Stephen King, he said that Charlie Kirk was in support of, was it the rape and murder of trans people or something like that? And then Stephen King himself came back and then he realized that he was misinformed and he apologized severally. So I think a lot of it is statements being taken out of context, the history of things not being properly understood. Another example of why people think he's racist is with the airline thing, that when he said, if I see a black pilot, I hope the pilot is qualified. Now that statement in context, maybe it's not the best, I will admit, like with the Second Amendment statement, but the history of that statement was that airlines like United Airlines wanted to have 40% representation of black pilots, female pilots. Now, the only issue with that was the number of black and female pilots who were actually qualified enough, as in had the requisite flight hours to qualify to be pilots, was very few. The actual number of people who are actually qualified were white. So it means that if you want to have, instead of waiting for a few years for those female pilots of color to catch up, it means you have to actually necessarily lower the standard. So that's why he said it means when you see a black pilot, chances are the person is not fully qualified, but they've been raised, or he would say the standard has been lowered to meet them because there are just not enough people qualified like that. Now, a statement like that, if you take maybe 15 seconds of it, that sounds racist and it goes around, obviously it's going to be branded as racist. So I think it's just a lot of instances of clips being cropped to make somebody look bad. Because Charlie Kirk, in many instances, has spoken about enlightening and raising up black America. He speaks against single fatherhood. He speaks against abortion. He's talking about how abortion has significantly reduced the black American population because constantly, I won't mention an organization, but there was this plan to sort of reduce the black American population, and abortion is one of the reasons that black people are being kept on. So he speaks very, very much for black America, but I think it's just him being taken out of context and some instances of him not communicating in the best way.
Prof, if this Charlie Kirk event had happened in 1981, we probably wouldn't have known. Our young students that you teach wouldn't have known. Is it good or bad that they are aware of it and they have views on it?
I think it's very good that they are aware of it, and it demonstrates the power of social media, it demonstrates the power of technology and the modern era that we are in. One of the significant things that you notice from here is the large following that he had on the university campuses. He was one of the major proponents and prognosticators of Trumpism and the MAGA movement on campus, contributing to galvanizing over 2 billion young people on university campuses.
2 billion?
Yes. I mean, 2 million.
2 million.
Sorry, 2 million. And if you look at his rallies or whatever, his events on the university campuses, there were a lot of young people who were trooping there. And so it shows you the level of conscientization that many young people in the US have as far as politics is concerned. There are a lot of places on US campuses they call the Freedom Square, where you can pretty much go and say anything that you want. And it's built on the idea that there is no such thing as a stupid idea, or there is no such thing as a wrong idea. And the premise of it again, and I'm sure why you are having this discussion, is based on the very democratic idea that each man, each human has the right to speech. And that the right of speech and expression is very fundamental to what makes us human and what essentializes our human identity. Once you take that right from any human being, then we cease to have that humanity or that self-expression. So when you go to the political science theories, from Thomas Hobbes to J.J. Rousseau to all the political science theories that we have, it is predicated on the idea that all men are created equal, and that we have to move away from the brutish, nasty society where there is the concept of survival of the fittest, right? The state of nature, which was propounded by Thomas Hobbes, and Darwinism and all of that. The whole idea is predicated on the fact that human beings have that right to equality, to liberty, and that we all have that inalienable human identity which has to be respected. So when you have someone like Kirk come in and challenge this very idea, saying black women have low processing power or denigrating them and all of that, then that actually undermines the humanity of a particular race. But then the broader picture is that it does not justify his death. So when you listen to Barack Obama, he says that, yeah, no matter what somebody says, no matter the expression, it still does not justify taking away the person's life. And so I think the larger lesson that we are learning here is that even for our own democracy in Ghana, for our own democracy in Africa and everywhere, the right to free speech should be guaranteed, although there are boundaries, and that there shouldn't be false information, and that there shouldn't be disinformation or misinformation or abuse or violence. I mean, rhetoric that instigates political violence. That is where those freedoms end. But at the end of the day, nobody should be, should be chased. Nobody should be at the end of violence just because of the idea that they have. And I mean, we have our own form of political violence here in Ghana. During elections, you just saw what happened in the by-elections over here. Polling station agents taking ballots, people holding political commentators, journalists, politicians to ransom because of their views or because of what they've said. But no political party or no individual holds the monopoly to ideas or to wisdom. Everybody should be allowed to express their views, no matter how extreme, no matter how stupid, no matter how foolish it sounds, as far as you are not inciting anybody to violence. But we have here in this country where some people are always being harassed and sometimes threatened based on being harmed. Threatened that you'll be harmed simply based on their opinions. And I think we need to grow and we need to improve as a democracy.
Was Charlie Kirk's narrative not denigrating a black race?
It was, to some extent.
Should that be allowed?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't be allowed. But
what should be the delimitation to that?
The thing is, he should be allowed, let me take my words back. He should be allowed to express his views or his opinion as far as it does not incite violence. So that is the key point. And if you have any opposing view, or you are opposed to that, your opposition should be based on facts. It should be based on debate. It should be based on argument. It should be based on the strength of your ideas and not on violence. When you start insulting, spreading false information, threatening harm, we'll come there, we'll hit you, we'll do that, you've lost the argument. It means that you do not have the strength, the intellectual ability to argue or go at people. See our young gentleman here, great debater. He was here a few years ago winning that competition on your show. And very young guy, but with powerful ideas. I think that's the kind of society that we should build.
Was Charlie Kirk a politician?
No, he was not. The official tag they give him is that he's a political activist. You know, so he went to college for 1 semester and dropped out of college. After 1 semester, he didn't go to university again. I mean, 18 years, he built his political movement and decided to go around talking.
He has a political movement?
Yes.
Then why is he not a politician?
He's not a politician. He really
was he planning to run for office?
I don't think that ever came up. I don't think he had those plans. He's just a political activist. Like, you believe in conservatism, or you have your own views which you believe should be propagated because it will help society. He was just that. That's all. So in as
But I don't hold rallies yet.
Yeah,
I don't hold rallies yet.
Right.
Not yet.
Not yet. But then the university campus historically, even in Ghana, have been centers for the debate, for debating ideas, for debating ideologies and all of that. And we know what happened in the period of the culture of silence. It was the university professors, right from the Voice, the Legon Observer, Radio Universe, and the college campuses, both left and right, being a hotbed for the march or the advocacy towards democracy and the left-right argument. And that's the kind of society that we should build. And so you would have people like even Obama defending Kirk's right to speak or to talk, even though he denigrated Obama's wife, Michelle Obama, and specifically mentioned her name when he was talking about black women having low processing power, saying that if we would have said that Joy Reid or Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson and Ketanji Brown, that's a Supreme Court justice, were affirmative action picks, we would have been called racist. Now they are coming out and they are saying it. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to be taken somewhat seriously. And that's what he said of Michelle Obama, that they're going to Princeton and all of that. They had to take a white person's position. But Barack still defended his right to be able to see things like that.
Is that not harsh when you have...
I'm looking for the specific post where that statement was made. So it was in reference to DEI highs, quote unquote.
But why was he targeting individuals? You can make your point without targeting individuals like former First Lady and all.
Sure. The reason he was... I wish I could find the specific quotes. Give me a sec. Good. So this was the narrative. That Charlie Kirk said, quote, black women don't have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. So this was the reality. I'm reading a specific report. It says, in 2023, Charlie Kirk called out 4 specific women who continually promoted anti-white and anti-Asian affirmative action policies. That's the argument I was making, that he says that in theory, it's meant to include the disenfranchised, but in practice, it pushes people out because it's reserving slots for others. So I'll continue reading. Who called out 4 specific women who continually promoted anti-white and anti-Asian affirmative action policies: Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Justice of the Supreme Court of the U.S., and Joy Reid. This is the quote he said. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. He says, we know you do not have the processing power to otherwise be taken seriously. He's essentially saying that they are not competent, not because of their race, but because of their personhood. It's not a target on race.
But why does he mention individuals? I mean, you can push a narrative without isolating individuals. Why does he do that?
That's fair, because these are people in the public domain.
Well,
these are people...
But these Michelle Obama and people, they have been used by the very dysfunctional American society to bring up the image of the African people, so that a 9-year-old African girl can think that she can go to Princeton. Because 100 years ago, it wasn't possible. Whether you no matter how clever you are, it wasn't possible to go to Princeton as a white person.
I think the context is necessary. The reason that they were being spoken about was they were advocating for quote-unquote positive discrimination policies. And he was saying that...
I'll come to you.
Let me finish. He was saying that in advocating for these policies, you're essentially advocating for the exclusion. You're essentially advocating for people being propped up simply because of their race. He wants that to be done away with. He wants...
But that's a correction of what had happened in the past.
Yes, that's part of the argument they make, that why are you disenfranchising the descendants of people simply because their ancestors experienced it? Maybe we can get to that conversation.
But I'm saying that what the American society was doing, which is complaining about, is correcting. It's correcting what had happened. Slave trade had occurred.
Yes.
Discrimination against blacks had occurred, lasted for several decades. So to correct that, you now have to give them peculiar opportunities, and let's see if they can perform. Since these opportunities were given, Ben Carson, for instance, has shown that he can be one of the greatest surgeons in America.
Yes.
Carl Lewis has won the Olympic medal several times, even though Charlie Kirk said that's all we can do. Jumping and ball
he didn't
and,
say that.
You know.
So the argument he's making
The black
is
entertainment industry has demonstrated that they can hone their talent and make America great by it. The American image has benefited from Carl Lewis and from Asafa Powell and all of those athletes that come to the Olympics. The American image has benefited from it. The whole world bowed to America when Barack Obama was elected president. So,
of course.
If he's turning back the clock and saying that, oh, Barack Obama was president because he went to Harvard with a black scholarship, I mean, that's not great.
So here's the thing, right? I am all for black people being given opportunities. I think it's good. I think his point is that these opportunities are at the cost of innocent white people or people of other races. Because why should we be equally qualified and you have a spot reserved for you simply because...
Because my ancestors have a slave trade.
Yeah, so he goes back and he says that today, what's disadvantage or what can a white person do that a black person cannot do? And constantly he's having people...
Let me come to Andrew. Andrew, what do you have to say?
So, first off, that is a gross misrepresentation of DEI. My own research on DEI finds that 83% of the beneficiaries of DEI are white women, not even black people.
Oh, DEI has gender as well?
Yes.
It's not just, okay.
Is white women. 83% is white women. And so the idea, first of all, to say that the problems of DEI are with the racial divisions is not even the biggest target of DEI, because actually DEI started targeting gender and bridging the gap between men and women. That's where it started from, before inclusions of race and all those things started being included into the functions. But then secondly, to say that they are innocent descendants is quite outrageous, because they benefit from the structures that was set up for them. Because it's easier for you as a person who is white to be able to gain certain things just by being white, because it's more likely that being born white to be born into upper middle class, because your parents probably had access to economic functions that black people's parents didn't have to during the time of Jim Crow and slave trade, which means you more likely have access to better education, you more likely have access to certain structures that put you in a better position. This is what we need to acknowledge. And to say that those things don't exist now is a big problem. There's a guaranteed conversation that in certain sectors, there's probably been a balancing out that we need to now phase out the use of DI in certain sectors. But to say that certain individuals, number one, but two, generally, that these structures are bad because they're excluding certain people from certain spaces and because they're innocent, without a proper recognition of history is bad, is really, really bad.
Let me come to you for a final word. Rama, what do you have to say?
What? This is...
Sorry,
I'm
go
so
on.
sorry. But this is something that, like, a lot of people that are around me know that it's really, really dear to my heart. But I also think that what Andrew said is incredibly correct, and that affirmative action as an idea as a whole is to help us bridge the gap. My ancestors were not able to go to school, open bank accounts, do all these things that white people were able to do. So if I couldn't open a bank account, I was not able to generate enough wealth. Like, you understand what I'm trying to say. So I don't really, I'm at a disadvantage. You already have the advantage of your great-great-great-grandfather was able to open a bank account. You have savings from hundreds and thousands of years ago. My savings started, when did slavery end? 100 years ago. So now, give or take, basically. Give or take. So when you look at it, I'm not able to generate enough wealth that I'll be able to afford to go to school. A lot of black people, they are first generation college students. What does that mean? That means that a lot of the people were not able to go get like actual jobs that will be high-paying jobs, that will be able to take them out of poverty. And I feel like taking that conversation out of it is very, very bad, and it's very, very, disingenuous. You should remember that there's context to these things. There's a lot of history backing all these things. You can't just say that, oh, well, Michelle Obama is a DEI hire, she came to take a white woman's slot. No, because there's a reason why that slot was given to her in the first place. Because I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that you don't just have to be black. If that was the case, so many black people would be in universities. You have to be smart. You have to be like smart, intelligent, witty. You have to be able to be eloquent in a way that will set you apart from your white peers. Because when you step into the room, you are not the first thing they see. Your body, your personhood is not the first thing they see. What they see is your color, that you're black. And I think that's important.
Another thing that people on the right argue is that the reason the whole skin color conversation is still prominent is that people are keeping it prominent. But then to go back to, I totally agree that giving black people, I'm a black person, I think giving black people opportunities is a good thing. The only issue is that they say at the cost of leaving out people who otherwise would be qualified. That's the only thing. How do we solve that problem?
Leaving out other white people?
Yes, who are qualified. But because slots are limited, they are left out for the people who have these spots reserved for them to go into. So if we can solve that problem, then we're all in agreement. I think that's the whole conversation. Don't leave people out in the name of correcting a historic wrong. Again, looking at this from a legal perspective, in terms of historic disenfranchisement, I know we can have a human discussion about it and say that people have been left out, but how do you properly legally justify excluding people because hundreds of years ago their ancestors had some advantage?
It's a balancing act. Let me finalize. You have something to say very quickly?
Yes. It's not at the cost of a white person.
White person who has opportunity
if there are
to go,
fixed
slots.
Oh, it's not as yeah, but that's important.
If
So
there
let's
are
say 100
fixed
slots.
slots,
Yeah,
exactly,
100
that's
slots.
the point.
We give 20 to black people.
And 100 slots give 20 to black people. That's what you're saying. There will be 20 white people who couldn't come in.
Essentially, that's the argument. But,
No,
you see,
but
in
then
practice,
the
it
white
even
people.
goes beyond. So it's not just 20. And
No,
again,
it makes them take more.
Yeah.
So, for instance, at the Football World Cup, the Football World Cup used to be played with 18 countries, then 24. Now it's 36. So they added more African countries. They added more African slots. But they haven't taken the slots of other people. They kept the number, but they increased the number of how many countries are playing the World Cup to 36 from all the way from 18 about 30 years ago, so that Africa can have 10 slots.
Yes.
So I'm not sure how the DI works, but those things are not
say
to
there's
take
a
a slot from
company.
somebody.
Say there's a company and they can hire only 70 people.
They are told with black empowerment in South Africa, for instance, to hire black people.
Exactly. So 70 people, everyone is qualified. Say there are 100 people who are qualified, mixed match of different races. If you implement, and the argument against DI is, if you say at least 40% should be women, at least so and so percent should be people of color, fixed slots that people would otherwise get only by virtue of their merit, they don't get. So we've left it behind. It's no longer about what do you call it? Competence. Is about skin color. Say there's a tie. I'm as qualified as you. You're as qualified as me. The difference there would then be.
But the threshold for black is lower. That's the point. The threshold for the black is lower.
How so?
So, for instance, university admissions, the Harvard has a slot for black people. That threshold will be lower than ordinary Harvard admissions. That's a concern you have.
I don't get you. Please come again.
So Harvard has 100 people to admit into Harvard Law School for JD. But the policy is that of your JD admissions, you have to leave 20% for blacks.
Yes.
You are suggesting that the threshold for black will then be lower.
I think that's part of it. Beyond the fact that people who are qualified simply will be left out. Sometimes it's we are both qualified. Your skin color gets you over the line. Other times is maybe someone is qualified, the other person is less qualified, but because this person is less qualified, like with the female aggregate example you gave, they're able to be pushed over. I am not against black people being given opportunity. I am black, look. But I think that...
Yeah, but then you have the situation where the reason why they are doing that is because they didn't have the same opportunity. So if somebody wrote BEC at Morning Star School, another person wrote BEC at Kwabre JSS, and the Morning Star School comes up with 8 ones, and Kwabre JSS comes up with 4 ones, it may well be that Kwabre's performance is better, given the resources that was available to him. And so if you admit Kwabre into Presec together with Morning Star, or you leave out a Morning Star 8 ones and admit Kwabre to PRESEC, you probably may be doing the right thing. Is
I
that not
get
what
the
it's
point.
about?
But so Trump, for example, sent this to the Supreme Court about Harvard's position, and they had the ruling in their favor that you are reserving slots. It used to do with Asian people and so on. They essentially said that reservation of slots is discrimination. I understand that it is necessary.
That's what the court said.
Yes, if I'm remembering correctly.
Reserving slots is discrimination.
Yes, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
And I understand that it is necessary to provide for people, but then the whole argument against DI is it is discrimination in reverse. Why should people have discrimination?
And this is where Charlie Kirk got into trouble.
Exactly.
Okay.
That you are insensitive, you are heavy-handed. It's part of it.
Okay, we have to end it. Prof, you have to wrap it up for us. What would you say?
Well, all that I would say is that the arguments for affirmative action are based on marginalization and underrepresented groups and demographic groups in society. And so it is based on the idea of pulling people up by the strap of the boots. That there's a certain section or group of us in society who were historically marginalized, and that we have to have a social policy or social intervention policies that make up for the less privileged among us in order for them to make up for that gap. And so any policy that seeks to make up for it, and we have social intervention in Ghana, whether it's education, whether it's water, whether it's amenities, even COVID-19, there were social intervention, for the less privileged. I don't think that necessarily disadvantaged a middle-income person from eating food in COVID-19 just because there was a social intervention policy, right? So that is that for it. But the larger argument, now that he's been shot, then comes to the issue of speech, then comes to the issue of expression and democracy, that should people be shot because of the ideas that he expressed? And the answer is no.
Okay, I have to leave it here. It's past 11:30. Viewers, thank you very much for watching. Good evening, Ghana. Good night.